This is the Momentum Podcast.
One of the biggest issues that we have as entrepreneurs when we start to build a team is making sure that team's fully utilized, making sure that they're getting everything that they possibly can get done, and having the feeling that our team steps us up for us and gets things done for us and takes initiative and moves things forward. If you have a strategic plan, you can get your team out in front of you. You can start creating massive momentum. You can move them forward in a way that's going to help your team really achieve what you want them to achieve and become a lot more engaged and get a lot more traction and move things forward faster. And so today I want to talk about not just stop being the biggest bottleneck, but what does it really take to get your team out in front of you? What are the habits that hold your team in place and stop them from moving forward?
I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future. And instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be.
When I think about this particular habit, when I think about this particular topic, there's so many of our members who I've watched really be able to get their team out in front of them and have teams that take massive initiative and move things forward and transform the business. One of those members who I spoke to just recently this week is Heather DeSantis. She runs Publicity for Good, and we've been working with Heather for a number of years. When she started with us, I think for a couple of years, when she started with us, she was in the 6 figures. Now she's over into the 7 figures, which is super exciting. And her PR company is growing like crazy. She's feeling confident. She's moving more things forward. Her team's gone from, I think, a handful of people to over 20 now. And she's working with some major brands. And when I look at how Heather was able to do this, she went from doing every single thing herself to providing some direction for her team. And in the conversation we had, she's going to provide even more direction for her team. Like we're always a work in progress. We can always do more. But the results she's had already have been massive. And here's why. She has stepped out of what we call transactional management, and she stepped into transformational leadership. Let me share with you the difference between these two ways of leading. And it's so important to understand and to be able to take a step back and look at exactly why this is so important. So transactional management is when you tell people what to do, you check that it got done. You tell people what to do, you check that it got done. I talked about this a little bit in my last recording, my last session. And as entrepreneurs, when we do those things, it is such micromanagement that it's painful. It's us holding everyone accountable. It's us making sure every little thing got done. And that is a recipe for burnout. That's a recipe for massive mistakes. That's a recipe for missed deadlines, for feeling frustrated and like your expectations weren't met. And in transformational leadership, here's how we shift this completely. I often share with entrepreneurs, uncommunicated expectations are almost always missed. If people don't know what you really want, you are always going to be disappointed. And so many of us as entrepreneurs have this meta programming that we drive from a place of disappointment. We drive from a place of anger and frustration. And that's what gets us going and gets us excited. Well, if you feel that resonates with you a little bit, there is such a release and relief in shifting to transformational leadership, because here's how transformational leadership works. We give our team clear outcomes. We tell them what we expect, what we want, what is exactly what we want out of a project. Like I talked about in my last session, we give them clear outcomes, accountability, and transparency. And once they have that, we can do the second step of transformational leadership, which is coaching success. So instead of telling somebody what to do and checking that it got done, and telling them what to do and checking that it got done, we give them clear outcomes outcomes, we coach success, and we get leveraged results. And here's what I mean by leveraged results. If we want to get your team out in front of you, we need to duplicate decision making. And here's what that means. We want our team to make decisions similar to how we would make decisions. We want to actually be able to trust that our team will make decisions the way we do, because then we will release responsibility for decision making to our team. And as an entrepreneur, if you haven't figured this out already, you do not want to be making all of the decisions. You want to make sure that you're empowering your team members to make decisions, because they're in the chair, they're seeing what's going on, they're understanding what's happening, and they can help you with the perspective of somebody who's actually doing it. So we want to transfer decision making. And so this is how transformational leadership creates the ability to transfer decision making. See, we give people clear outcomes. Rather than telling them each decision to make, which is micromanagement, we give them hyper clear outcomes. Here's exactly where we're going. Here's the outcome. Here's what we're measuring to see if we're successful. And here's each person's role in this outcome. And then we coach success, which means when they have questions, we connect with them and we're answering their questions. We're collaborating with them. We're looking at what the decisions that they're making, and we're showing them what we would do. We're having discussions around what we would do. And that process, as we go through it, starts duplicating decision making. Our team members, by listening to us, by getting coached, by understanding how we would make decisions, start to say, hey, I think I can make this decision. And so there's some steps there. First, you'll show your team members how you make decisions. Then they'll start making decisions, coming to you to verify them. Then you get, for some level of decisions, you can just release them to make those decisions. And then eventually you have a team member who's autonomous and actually working in the role and has ownership of the role, because you've walked them through the process through transformational leadership. This is a game-changing perspective to have as an entrepreneur. And here's what's interesting. You know, oftentimes I talk to entrepreneurs where I tell them, like, what we really need is a really clear outcome where you tell them everything you expect and you show them exactly how you're going to measure, and then you tell them exactly what their role is. And entrepreneurs will say, but isn't that micromanagement? And I always reply, absolutely not. This is actually empowerment. This is how you create autonomy, where people work independently on the team. You give them clarity as to where they're going. They know how they're being measured with perspective, and they know exactly what their role is. Micromanagement is actually the other side of telling people what to do, checking that it got done, telling people what to do, and checking that it got done. This shift will not only shift things for every one of your team members, well, you will start seeing them develop in ways that you didn't think were possible. You'll start seeing them bring outcomes to the table that are just incredible and overwhelming. You will start seeing them step up, take initiative, and get things done in a way you didn't think was possible, because you've shifted from transactional to transformational, and you're getting those leveraged results. You're getting a fully leveraged, fully engaged, fully capacitated team member who can do everything that they need to do and get it done. And this process is a process that over time, as you go through it over and over again, as you work through new projects, here's what you'll find. Your team members are asking you less and less questions. They're coming to the table with more and more ideas. You're transferring more of the responsibility to the team member. You're getting your time, your effort, your energy, and your focus back. And that's so important, because as entrepreneurs, when we have too much going on in the present, when things get tactically overwhelming in the present, that's where pressure and noise goes up for us. And when pressure and noise goes up, we become symptomatic. We can have eye twitches and anxiety and trouble sleeping and trouble waking up, and we feel exhausted all the time. We might even start having psychosomatic issues with our body. We might even have some autoimmune issues, all of those other things. Here's how I know pressure and noise causes all those things. Because when we can lower them for an entrepreneur, they go away. One of the companies I'm most excited that we're working with is my daughter's school. They go to an incredible academy here in Austin called Skybridge. And the leader of that school is this extraordinary entrepreneur. Like, I'm so impressed with her over and over again, named Ariel Miller. And when Ariel joined our organization as a coaching client, she was actually having massive autoimmune symptoms and a lot of pain in her gut, a lot of pain in her stomach. Some days she was incapacitated, couldn't even work. So there was a tremendous amount of frustration and anxiety there for Ariel. Well, we put some systems in place with her and helped her go from transactional management to transformational leadership. And I'm so proud and excited to say that at our last summit, she actually shared with our entire group, everybody in our mastermind, that she was symptom-free from an autoimmune issue that had plagued her for years. See, when pressure and noise goes down, everything gets better for us as entrepreneurs. Our decision-making gets better. Physiologically, we feel better. We have much higher levels of clarity, and we can create massive momentum with our teams. So if you're interested in understanding more about the process and structure that will get you from transactional to transformational leadership and truly get your team out in front of you, go to billionairecode.com. Billionaire Code is our 9-step process that shows you where you are as an entrepreneur. And if you go to billionairecode.com, you can download the Billionaire Code itself. You can watch a quick video on what it means, and you can set up a call with a member of my team so we can show you how we can help you create massive momentum by getting your team out in front of you, stop transactional management, step into the magic of transformational leadership, and watch your organization completely transform. Go to billionairecode.com.